Thank you so much to all of my patrons. I super appreciate the continued support. Hey everybody, it's the end of the month, and that means it is time for my April monthly wrap-up. I want to go through like a life update, a channel update, go over some stats, and then go over all the books that I've read, and then finally show off the books that have been sent to me over the past month, and there's only 2 of them. So the channel had a big day yesterday, and that I finally got to 10,000 subs, so that's awesome. I'm going to be doing a live stream on Saturday of next week. And so check that out. I already have it up on the channel. You can check it out. I'd love for you to come, ask any questions you want. Have a good time. I'm not going to be doing a read-along thing where I think a lot of channels do this where they read for a lot of the time and then they answer questions. I'm just going to be talking for like an hour or 2 and just answering questions nonstop. So really looking forward to that. The Discord continues to explode, and if you haven't joined yet, what are you doing? It's the best fantasy Discord channel out there, and it added 119 more people. We're up to 667. Happy about that, because it was 666 for a whole day, and that was a little weird. So yeah, come and join. I'd love to talk books with you. I'm on there all the time. The Patreon account continues to grow, so thank you so much to all of the patrons, and even if you're not a patron, thanks so much. I don't require that, but there's a lot of fun stuff there. Like you get to pick books that I read, you get early access to all my videos, and like your name showcased at the beginning and end of videos. So I started the month at 34 different patrons, and we're up to 45. So yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate it, and I always get really surprised and happy when I get that email notification that somebody else decided to join. So thank you so much. On the life side, I've been kind of a boring month, just working a lot. I'm doing softball coaching for my daughter. She is 6, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. We only have a few more weeks left, but I love doing it. Love coaching sports for my kids. My dad always coached sports for me when I was a kid. That's been one of the big things that I looked forward to when I had my own kids. So yeah, super looking forward to finishing out the season and going into soccer in the fall. Got a family vacation done this month. We went out to San Diego. A lot of fun. Spent a ton of money. I didn't realize how expensive SeaWorld was. SeaWorld is like almost expensive as like Disneyland, which is crazy. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. The kids are like a perfect age for it. I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So yeah, they were just enamored by the whole thing. So yeah, that was a big blast. And then we went to the San Diego Zoo, and they did not really like the zoo very much, but I loved it. I had a blast. Zoos are my jam. I don't know why my kids don't really love them, but man, it was awesome. So yeah, if you ever make out to San Diego, you've got to check out that zoo. It is crazy awesome. So the channel got some upgrades, like on the technical side. As you can see, I have a new microphone, and the sound is a lot better. Check out one of my older videos, but not too old. If you go way old, the sound is atrocious. But there was this long time period where I had a lav mic that I always wore. You never really saw it in the videos, but it was really echoey because I'm in this room that I can't make any changes to, because this also is my wife's office, and she uses it for her home business all the time. So I can't add padding to the walls and all the things that you would do to soundproof a room. And eventually I was talking to somebody on my Discord channel who happens to be an audio engineer. So thank God for that. And they kind of led me through the whole process, kind of helped tweak the sound a lot, pick out a good microphone, and yeah, so the sound is way better. There's a little bit of an echo still that I can't really totally fix without making changes to the room, but it's way more minor than it used to be, and yeah, I'm super happy with it. It kind of gives the channel kind of a unique sound to it, and I'm really happy with where things are. Also got a teleprompter, which is awesome, and you might be thinking, why would I need a teleprompter? I do all my reviews impromptu. Well, so it's not for those. I don't use a teleprompter on my review videos, but I super need it for videos like this, where I'm going through a big list of things. And when I do my top 10 lists, that would be awesome. Previously, what I did was one of 2 things. I either did a lot of cuts, and I hate doing cuts. I hate editing. I try to do very minimal edits. But what I used to do is I used to have a tripod next to my camera with a piece of paper next to it that I was squinting to look at. It was very obvious that I was looking off camera. So yeah, and it makes it so much easier, and I'm having a much better time doing these different kind of videos that are more list format and things like this. So yeah, it makes it so much easier. A lot of people like talking video games. I feel like there's a large crossover between people that like fantasy books and play video games. So just to update on the games that I've played, I'll quickly go through it. I've played a lot of Madden. I'm cheap. I always buy Maddens like after the season's over, so then I don't have to spend much money because I'm a cheapskate. So I've been playing a lot of that. I played through a indie game, Owlboy. A lot of fun with that. I love old school kind of like 2D games. Also played this indie game, Beholder. I think it's indie, but I played Beholder, another 2D kind of like dystopian future kind of game. Really fun. Played Hitman 3. And that was a blast. Love Hitman games. Although I feel like I liked them more when I was younger, when I had a lot of time. I could like play through every iteration a million times, but I kind of just do like one playthrough and don't really repeat a lot because I don't have a ton of time because I read so much. Also played one of my favorite games of all time. I replay it every few years, and that's Return of the Obra Dinn. Super fun mystery game. One of my favorite games I've ever played. It's just so good. Played Do Not Feed the Monkeys. Let me speed through this because I played a lot of games. Played through Cuphead and played just a bunch of levels in N++. There might be a different way to say that, but that's what I say. So that's it for me. Let's go through the monthly data. So I read 11 different books this month, which is pretty average for me. I read about 10, 11, 12. Read about 5,000 pages, which is the same as last month. That brings my total books to this year at 35, and I'm on track for about 105, so that's cool. The pages this year, I'm at a little over 19,000 and on track for 59,000. My goal is 50,000 and 100 books, but I much more care about that 50,000 number because, page lengths can be totally different. So, book lengths. Page lengths are relatively more consistent. So yeah, I like to go by pages, if not words, but that's a little geeky, and I don't want to go into those details, but I always shoot for 50,000, and I should easily get it this year. My average score for this year is quite down from previous years. I'm at 3.53. My lifetime hovers around 4, and I've read a lot of 1 stars, but I still feel like I've been having a great year because I have so many awesome 5 stars. But yeah, those 1 stars really bring me down. So this month I had 91,000 views. This is down 22,000. 11,000 hours watched, and that's down 5,000. And I had 650 new subs, and that's down 550. But these are all down because I had a really big video the previous month that is the major reason that I had a lot higher numbers. And I can't always expect to have videos like that, but it was this video that you might have seen, and it was like my favorite fantasy series of all time. Not mine, the favorite fantasy series of all time according to 50+ booktubers, and that still is getting a lot of views. But when it first came out, it just blew up, and yeah, got me a lot of traction. So for this month, I would like to go over my top 3 videos that I had. My number 1 video is not a video I made this month, and it is that one, the 50+ booktubers one, and that got about 9,500 views over the past 30 days. Number 2, with about 8,000 views, was the top 10 highest rated fantasy books on Goodreads. And the number 3, with 6,000 views, was the top 30 fantasy characters according to my viewers. So let's now talk about the books that I read this month. The first one was The Iron Prince. This is the first book in a newer series, Warformed Stormreaver. The second one, Stormreaver. And the second one should come out this year. This is written by 2 guys, Bryce O'Connor and Luke Chilminko. I did not predict a ranking on this because I was already almost done with it, which would have been kind of cheating. And I'm doing this like TBR contest where people can guess the ratings for my books. And I didn't want to like ruin it because it was clear that my prediction would have been spot on because I was basically done. And we'll talk about that TBR contest tomorrow when I release my TBR video. But yeah, I rated a 4.5, liked it a lot. I predicted I'd finish it on April 1st, and I did finish it on April 1st. This is a progression fantasy book that is not the greatest writing quality in the world, but it's just dang fun. I mean, I'm addicted to these progression fantasy kind of video gamey stories. It's got some lit RPG elements to it where characters are like leveling up constantly, getting new moves. It's like a school atmosphere where they're constantly battling with each other. It's just fun. It's not for everybody. It's certainly for me, and I can't wait to read the next one. The next book I finished was The Gunslinger. This is part of the Dark Tower series, the first book by Stephen King. Again, I didn't predict because I was almost done, and I gave it 2 stars. And I'm also going to say this is the worst book that I read this past month. I predicted I'd finish it April 1st, and I actually finished it April 2nd. And yeah, this just didn't work for me. I liked some of the theming of it. It was a kind of cool atmosphere, but that's about it. The plot was all over the place. The writing was not great. It's Stephen King, I think, like first book that he published, and it's not even like a real book. It was like a bunch of short stories, or like he submitted stories to like a newspaper and then like combined them into this. So it's just all over the place and kind of a mess. So I am going to read the second one, and I've heard from a lot of people that it's a lot better. I think everybody tells me that it's a lot better. The people that like Gunslinger more, I've found, are those that have already finished the series, and then they are thinking about it, you know, after already having the benefit of finished it. And I feel that way about some other books. Namely, I think about that a lot in Malazan, where I didn't love Gardens of the Moon, but now that I think back on it, I would love it to bits if I read it again, when I read it again, sometime next year. So yeah, the next book that I finished up was Secret Project Number 2 by Brandon Sanderson. And I'm not even going to try to say the book title because it's crazy and long. And people get kind of mad when I say this because it's like a spoiler, but it's already been out for a while. So, but whatever, I'm not going to say it. And I gave it a 3-star prediction, and I did give it 3 stars. I also predicted that I'd finish it on April 3rd, and I finished it a little early on April 2nd. And yeah, it's just okay. It's trying to be a lot of things that I don't think worked. Like, it's trying to be really funny, and I just don't think Brandon Sanderson's a funny guy. It didn't stick the landing totally, but it was a fun book, just not like crazy fun. And yeah, it's certainly doesn't hold a candle to Trust of the Emerald Sea, the first secret book. And I think I'm not alone in that. Almost everybody that I heard from said that they much preferred the first one to the second one. And I certainly did, because I gave the first one a 5 stars, and one of the best books that I read this year. So the next one that I read is The Captain. This is the first book in a new series by Will White called The Last Horizon. I predicted I'd give it 4 stars, and I gave this a very easy 5 stars. I'm going to say this was the biggest pleasant surprise that I had of the month, because it was just such a top tier 5-star for me. I predicted I'd finish it on April 7th, and I did finish it on April 7th. And, you know, I was a little worried going into this because I only know Will White from Cradle, and I love Cradle. But whenever somebody starts a new series, a totally different thing. In fact, this is sci-fi when Cradle is very much in the fantasy realm. And I'm not a huge sci-fi guy, but oh man, did I love this. This is, you know, easily the most fun I've had in a book this past month. It's just awesome. It is, I don't want to ruin anything about it, but essentially it's about this captain who's getting a crew together to fight against a great evil in the world. And it's funny, it's light, it's easy, and just, it's such a good time. And I think, now this is a very controversial opinion, but that this book is better than any of the Cradle books. Now people, when I said that before, people kind of interpreted it as like a diss on Cradle. It's anything but, because Cradle is one of my favorite series. That just shows you how much I really, really loved this one. I think most people would tell you that this book is much better than the first Cradle book, but I go much, much further than that with how much I love this. Then I read Untethered Sky. This is a novella by Fonda Lee. I predicted that I would give this a 3 stars, and I did give it a 3 stars. I also predicted that I'd finish this on April 8th, and I did finish it on April 8th. And I just don't really like novellas, and I was disappointed. Now, I hear a lot of people, you know, I was disappointed that it wasn't longer. And a lot of people that when I say that are like, yeah, that's what a novella is, Matt. Yeah, I get that. But it didn't have to be a novella. That's a choice of hers. She didn't have to write a novella. You know, I think that Fonda Lee is incredible. I love Greenbone Saga. It's one of my favorite series that I've ever read, an incredible trilogy that I gave a 5 out of 5 to each of those books. But this is just a huge step down. And I almost worry that it's like a cash out where she's like, look, I'm going to make a ton of money on this. Everyone's going to buy it. Super easy to do. I can, bang this book out in no time. And she knows that everyone's going to read it and buy it and spend a bunch of money on not a lot of words. And just didn't really super work for me. But I also have rated this lower than like anybody I've seen. So yeah, don't, take it for what it's worth. You might love this one. Then I read The Cloud Roads. This is the first book in the Books of the Raksura series by Martha Wells. She is famously the author of Murderbot. I predicted 3 stars. I did give it 3 stars. And this was the raffle pick in Patreon. So one of my Patreon rewards for people that are on that. If you're in the 2nd or 3rd tiers, and that you can put a book or 2 into a raffle, and I spin the wheel and I have to read and review whatever wins. This one won. Martha Wells, I don't love. I like, Murderbot, I have a love-hate relationship with. And yeah, this one was just okay. I predicted I'd finish it on April 12th. I finished it on April 13th. And yeah, it's just, it's very much a fantasy story, not sci-fi. It's kind of like a coming-of-age story, but just didn't, the world building's nice, but the plot was just kind of painfully slow to me. I do love some books that are painfully slow, so don't, that's not just like I'm automatically not going to like it. But it had some interesting concepts, but yeah, nothing really blew me out of the water here. But what did blow me out of the water was the next book I read. And this is The Justice of Kings. This is the first book in the Empire of the Wolf series by Richard Swan. Predicted 5 stars, and I gave it a 5 stars. This is the second book that I read this month. And this was the Patreon vote choice. So the other book choice thing that I do on Patreon is that every month I put 5 books that I want to read on a list, and everyone gets to vote for them. And I got to read the highest voted one. And this one won. I predicted I'd finish it on the 17th, and I loved it so much I flew through it. Finished it 3 days early. Finished it on April 14th. And yeah, this is just awesome. This is like a mystery fantasy book, and I usually hate those, but I loved this one. And it's about this like lawyer, it's about this like judge that travels around and, settles cases using magic. And it's got this like epic feel to it. Even though that feels very micro in the story, it is anything but. It's huge, it's awesome, it's badass, it's stressful. It is kind of a horror story in parts. It's just awesome, and I can't wait to keep reading. Then I read Legend. This is the first book in the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸 saga, a book that I've been looking forward to reading for a super long time. This is by David Gemmell. I predicted a 5 stars. Only gave it 4 stars, though. Predicted I'd finish it on April 8th, and I finished it super late on April 16th. And the reason that this is really late is because I was doing this in audiobook, and it's really hard for me to find time to do audiobooks lately. My commute is like nothing. And so, the only times that I'm going to listen to audiobooks is on a very short commute or playing certain video games where I can, don't get too distracted. Really simple games. And it just didn't have a lot of time. But I like this. It's good. Kind of really classic story. It's written, I think, 82, and it's fun. Didn't really do anything unique, although maybe it did at the time. I love siege stories, but yeah, nothing just blew me out. It was just constantly good, which is great. That's cool, but yeah, that's what it is. Then I read The Trials of Ashmount. This is part of the Tragedy of Sedaine series by John Palladino. I predicted a 4 stars. I did give it 4 stars. I predicted I'd finish it on the 21st, and I finished it on the 17th. And yeah, I was nervous to go into the story because I really didn't want to hate it, because I know John. He is a super nice guy, really active on my Discord channel and on YouTube in general, and super awesome, nice guy author. But I really liked it, so that's great. It's fun. It's this epic fantasy story that is dark, super dark. I love dark stories. I thought the writing quality was not incredible. Like it just didn't. The prose was pretty basic. But that's something he can improve on. And that I would never expect anybody to, unless you're very few authors that just like come out of the gate, just knocking that out of the park. But yeah, fun story, fun magic. Can't wait to see where it goes. Then I read Age of Assassins. This is the first book in the Wounded Kingdom series by R.J. Barker. R.J. Barker I love. He's the author of The Tide Child. I predicted I'd give it 4 stars, and I gave it 2 stars. This is the most disappointing book that I read this month, and I predicted I'd finish it on the 15th, and I finished it on the 24th, another audiobook that I went super slow on. And yeah, I was so looking forward to this because I just love R.J. Barker so much. I still do. But yeah, this is just not good. To me. I can't say it's not good or it's great. Everything's personal opinion. Just didn't work at all for me. I don't typically love these assassin-like stories when there's not a lot of assassinations going on. Another kind of coming-of-age story, but the plot was just glacial. It was just... I was waiting for something to happen, and I was just bored to tears through most of this book. There was some interesting parts which kept me from giving it a 1, but this is closer to a 1 than a 3. And yeah, just didn't work for me. Then the king of this month. I read the second book in the Dandelion Dynasty series. This is The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. Predicted I'd give it a 5 out of 5, and I would have given this 6 out of 5 if I gave it 6 out of 5. It's just so dang good. Predicted I finished on April 29th, finished on April 26th. And yeah, it's incredible. It's easily a top 5 favorite book that I've ever read in my life. Closer to 1 than 5. Could even be like the second best. And I said that about the first book. And, is it better than the first one? I don't know. They're very different books, but it's so dang good. I don't really want to talk about too much of what it's about. Just go read these books if you haven't. They're certainly not for everybody. They kind of read history books, especially the first one. But I love history books. And this is like a fantasy, history, Chinese, badass, awesome book. So for the month, I predicted that I would give a 4.0 average rating, and that was too high. I actually gave a 3.68, but whatever. Great month. I read a lot of good books. So before we're done here, let's go through the books that I got for free this month, one of which I'm super looking forward to read, and I will go through that one first. And that is 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸 of the 𝐒𝐻 by 𝐂𝐮𝐸𝐸. This is, I believe, the 4th book in the Path to Ascendancy series in 𝐒𝐿azin. I love 𝐒𝐿azin. Most people have not read 𝐂𝐮𝐸𝐸, though. Most of them read the Steven Erikson 10 books in 𝐒𝐿azin Book of the Fallen, and then they don't give this guy a chance because they're like, how could he be as good as Steven Erikson? Well, spoiler alert, he's not as good as Steven Erikson, but he's still really good. These books go through like a prequel story to the rise of the 𝐒𝐿azin Empire. If you finished 𝐒𝐿azin and any of that intrigues you, these books are great, and I can't wait to read it. Thank you. I wish I wrote this down, but thank you to the publisher of this book who sent this hardcover out to me for free. That's awesome. I don't often get publishers sending me physical books. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be reading this sometime in the next couple weeks. Cannot wait. Then I got a book sent to me that I am not going to read, and that's because I don't read pretty much any books that sent to me. When authors say they're going to send me a book, I always tell them I'm not going to read it, but I will show it off in my video. And usually they always say, awesome, I would love you to do that. So this one is The Tale of the Young Witch. This is by Joseph Minart. And yeah, I'm going to read the back cover to you. Not all of it. It's super long, but I'm going to read a couple paragraphs too. When the age of witchcraft and sorcery died out, the world moved on, and most people believed they would never see its magical influences ever again. But it wasn't so. The past has an uncanny habit of reinventing itself in the present, and the magic surrounding witchcraft cannot easily be undone. Now, in 1901, 450 years after the perceived death of witchcraft, an unsuspecting teenager, Amelia Twigg, is about to discover that not only does magic and witchcraft still exist, but it has found in her a vessel in which to manifest itself. So, yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, look out for The Tale of the Young Witch. So, that's it for me this month. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you tune in tomorrow for my TBR video and the TBR contest that I would love you to enter and see if you can win. So, thank you so much, and as always, happy reading to you. Thanks again to all my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier patrons: Anna, Ben, Brian, CJ, Donu, Darren, Jamie, Maria, Michael Sugarman, My Book is Lit, Nev's Book Channel, Romeo Mike, Ron Reich, Russell, Ryan L, Sky, and Zion.